Tonight, Toronto sees a surge in gun violence over the weekend.
It happened kind of around the clock, early morning shootings, daytime shootings, afternoon shootings, evening, nighttime shootings.
Police say there have been nearly a dozen shootings since Friday, at least 3 of them deadly. What we know so far, plus.
We know we have to make money to get back on our feet, but we want to make sure that people feel safe in our space.
Businesses prepare to operate at full capacity as the province lifts restrictions in most non-essential indoor settings. And
thought this would be the perfect time to get Halloween up and going again.
We'll take you to a spooky corn maze in Pickering that's all about giving back to a good cause.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Shannon Martin. A weekend of violence has police looking for possible connections between at least 10 different shootings. Let's take you to the latest scene right now. You're looking live at Pharmacy and Eglinton Avenue East in Scarborough. Police have just announced that a man there has died following a shooting. They were called there around 9 o'clock tonight. Police say a taxi cab crashed into a fence. They found bullet shells located in the area. The person driving the cab was taken to hospital where he died. Officers still on scene there now at this hour. And just a little bit earlier this evening, another shooting at Parliament and Wellesley in the downtown area. Police say they found one man suffering from gunshot wounds. He's been taken to hospital. This is just the latest in a series of shootings around the city in the last 72 hours. Dale Manukduk takes us through the investigations.
A busy weekend for Toronto police. 3 fatal shootings on Saturday.
Immediate medical attention was given to this male. Unfortunately, he has died of his injuries.
3 more shootings today.
Paramedics rendered immediate medical assistance. The male was transported to a local hospital where he has serious but non-life-threatening injuries.
Unfortunately, that's not all.
Since Friday, we've had 8 separate shooting incidents, 6 of which have injured victims, and 3 of that is now active homicide investigations.
The shootings have happened around the clock, early morning, daytime, afternoon, and evening. 36-year-old Donald Marson, or Smokey as he was known, was killed just after 2 a.m. on Saturday. A candlelit memorial was set up in the laneway behind the apartment where it happened. He was known for his community barbecues.
Smokey was actually a great guy. He had a good soul, a good heart. He was really friendly. He's going to be really deeply missed in the community.
It's unclear if the separate incidents are connected.
Could be targeted, they could be connected, they could be retaliation shootings. These are all things that, and again, we're leaning on not just our investigative experts, but the community to come forward to help us with any information.
Toronto police say they've deployed all resources, including the Gangs and Guns unit. They say they want to take preventative measures by speaking to younger people about gang violence and getting out of gangs. Marcel Wilson agrees he used to be in one, and now he's an anti-gun violence advocate who works directly with youth. He says more work needs to be done addressing the root causes of violence.
Poverty, dealing with mental health or not dealing with it, not addressing those issues. Social media is a big one, and my young brother can attest to that. The music industry is having a huge influence. So there's a plethora of issues, drug use.
The young brother he was speaking about is DeAndre Roy, who was shot last year. He says he was going through a lot at the time.
And I wouldn't reach out, I wouldn't speak to anyone. So for me personally, that made it 100 times worse, and for the people around me also. So my advice is just reach out to your friends and family.
Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Meantime, in less than an hour, restaurants, bars, and gyms will feel a lot closer to normal than they have in a long time. Capacity restrictions are lifting. As Angelina King shows us, businesses are getting ready and making some tough choices.
Go up. 1, 2, 1, 2.
The day before capacity limits lift, the owner of this spin studio is preparing, holding teacher training, and finally being able to bring more bikes into the room.
I felt like that day would never come.
But Jennifer McChesney says just because capacity limits are lifted doesn't mean business will change overnight.
We want to run, but we have to walk first. We know we have to make money to get back on our feet, but we want to make sure that people feel safe in our space.
Instead of bringing in another 20 bikes, which would be full capacity, she's only adding around 7. Tomorrow, businesses like hair salons can also operate at full capacity, but only if they implement a proof of vaccination policy. This salon has decided not to.
We just want to welcome everyone. We want everyone to feel comfortable, and if that means maintaining our current capacity, then we're okay with that.
She's waiting for the day they can be at full capacity without proof of vaccination.
Because we do still wear masks, I think it's kind of silly in a sense because I mean, like, sports arenas are 100% capacity, shoulder to shoulder, they're eating, they're drinking.
So how do potential customers feel about lifting restrictions?
I'm still a little bit nervous about the COVID situation.
Let them reevaluate any risks on their own as individuals.
I've had my double vaccination, so as long as other people have done likewise, then I feel very secure.
Well, the feeling among people on the street may be mixed. One infectious disease doctor says he thinks right now is a safe time to lift capacity restrictions as long as it's being watched closely.
We're certainly not out of the woods. We may have to pivot if things start to go the wrong way, but they have this timeline that's set. It's based on metrics, and I think that we can do this safely. And I keep saying this again because of immunity, both vaccinated and post-infectious.
This is our race warm-up.
Back at Studio Spin, McChesney says it's still a waiting game to ensure classes fill up, then to see if there's enough staff to schedule more.
It's really easy to say, okay, great, everything back to normal, but it is not back to normal as much as we want to think it is.
But for now, she's happy a few extra bikes in class will help the pace of business move forward. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
This weekend, broad pandemic support for both businesses and workers has now ended. Ottawa is shifting to smaller and more targeted programs. But as Valeria Corey-Minocchio shows us, not everyone is ready for the change.
Seemed unfair.
Federal rent and wage subsidies kept Reem Schmolly's gym going in the pandemic.
It was kind of shocking to see that we're losing basically all help next month.
And her revenue losses aren't high enough to qualify for new pandemic support programs.
We are moving from the very broad-based support that was appropriate at the height of our lockdowns to more targeted measures.
Those measures include the Tourism and Hospitality Recovery Plan, aimed at subsidizing the lost revenues of hotels, restaurants, and travel agencies at up to 75%. But to qualify for that, applicants must show monthly revenue losses of at least 40%. For businesses suffering even bigger losses, 50% or more, there's the hardest hit business recovery program, but that still leaves some out.
For many small and medium-sized firms, the government has set the bar so incredibly high that they're not going to be able to access any of the really critical supports that the new programs provide.
Support for individuals also ended Saturday, the Canada Recovery Benefit, which largely replaced the CERB. Pierre Brault, a self-employed actor, depended on it. His line of work faces an uncertain future.
CRB running out puts me in a very vulnerable position because while I want to continue in the arts and continue performing, I'm uncertain about the audience. How large is the audience when they do come back? If they do come back, I will miss the security of having at least my rent covered.
But this economist says eliminating the CRB will push people back into the workforce and that the programs were costly.
Now it's just an unwinding of the program that was there to get us through to this point in the first place.
A point where the government says much of the country is recovering, but some continue to struggle. Valeria Corey-Minocchio, CBC News, Montreal.
Toronto City Councillor Joe Cressy says he will not be running for another term in next year's municipal election. Cressy says while he believes in the power of municipal government, this decision is based on what's best for him and his family.
But I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that the last, coming up on 2 years, in fact, it's been 645 days of continuous response to this pandemic as the chair of the Board of Health has taken a personal toll. And so for me, I'm looking forward to contributing elsewhere and being an active and present dad. I have a 2-year-old who frankly I want to spend more time at the playground with.
Cressy was first elected to City Council in 2014, representing the Ward 10 Spadina Fort York. He also currently serves as chair of the Toronto Board of Health. Toronto's municipal election is set for next October. New developments in the battle for control of Rogers Communications. The dispute has all the makings of real-life drama, an ultra-powerful family living in the shadow of a patriarch fighting over a massive media empire. Talia Ritchie has more on this very public family feud.
Boardroom battles are nothing new, but observers say the public nature of this one could have consequences.
The whole family infight so public. This is one of the worst I have seen.
It's been a volatile week for the Rogers. On one side, eldest son Edward. On the other, his mother and sisters. At issue, control of one of Canada's largest media companies. Earlier this week, Edward was removed as chair following an attempt to oust the current CEO. But he still controls the family trust and its voting shares. He called a Sunday board meeting, which independent board directors have dismissed as invalid. His sister Martha went even further in a barrage of tweets all weekend, seemingly mocking her brother and advisors as would-be puppet masters and masters of the universe.
It doesn't look like you have your house in order when you're bickering, publicly on the internet. That doesn't help anyone.
Earlier today, matriarch Loretta Rogers said in a statement, Edward unfortunately continues to proceed down a misguided and miscalculated path that puts his own interests ahead of those of Rogers' employees, customers, and shareholders. All this while Rogers tries to finalize the multi-billion-dollar takeover of Shaw Communications.
The prospect of deal completion and also subsequent integration will be highly risky. The stock market already has its vote.
This expert says mediation is possible, but calls the current situation unsustainable.
It affects all Canadians. And they look at this and they think, why is this happening? And that's a very good question.
Whether this inter-family drama will impact the Shaw deal or shareholders is something Canadians will be watching for in the weeks ahead. Talia Ritchie, CBC News, Toronto.
Sophia Kambalia from the Weather Network joins us now. It was such a gorgeous fall day, but I hear you have some pretty intense weather warnings on the way.
Yeah, the statements, rainfall warnings are in. Hope you enjoyed the little bit of sunshine that we had out there today, because the first Colorado low of the season will be the unwelcome visitor with us for the next 2 days. Count them, 2 days of rain, especially Monday. Heavy rain, wind. Let's talk about all the gory details for you now. The rainfall warning, as we mentioned, for the upwards of 60 millimeters of rainfall for the extreme southwest. Everybody else seeing 20 to 40. And then this area around the Golden Horseshoe and into the GTA seeing that 30 to 50 millimeters of rainfall. The statements talked about flooding in low-lying areas. Heavy downpours as well. Really gusty northwest wind. It's a cool Arctic-esque wind as well. Not only gusting 50 to 60 kilometers an hour, but for the first time I've laid the wind chill graphic on you this season. Feeling like 6 for your Monday morning commute, which could have low visibility and some really chilly conditions for the kids heading out to school. The rain has already started. It's light in nature around the GTA. Heavier bands are coming in. It will get more organized into the overnight period, and especially for when you head out that door Monday morning. We'll talk about when there's a brief lull with mild temperatures coming in the long range.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Thanks, Sophia.
Sounds good.
Coming up, Saskatchewan's pandemic battle continues with a growing number of patients being transferred here to Ontario. We'll have the latest next, but first, take a look at this. The Royal Ontario Museum is hosting an exhibit featuring works done entirely by children. It's called My Pandemic Story and features over 60 pieces from young artists from across Ontario. There's sculptures, paintings, dances, and portraits. The museum's arts and culture curator says a range of themes and emotions are on display.
But there's a social justice element, of course, because it wasn't just the pandemic that was happening for us. It was also, the Stop Asian Hate movements, the Black Lives Matter. And so a lot of that was also coming through in the art. This process of working through my emotions on the canvas or while I danced, etc., were so important. And they were so excited to share it with people.
It is the ROM's first ever crowdsourced exhibit. It'll be on display until next spring. All of the submissions are also available to view online in a digital gallery. The Neighbourhood Pharmacy Association of Canada says 1 in 4 adults in Ontario has missed or is unsure if they've missed a routine vaccination for themselves or their child. These include HPV, pneumonia, shingles, measles, and mumps. The association is asking the province to extend public health vaccination programs to pharmacies.
And we know that 95% of Canadians live within 5 kilometers of a community pharmacy. So we can really leverage that convenience and proximity and accessibility to encourage more Canadians to get the vaccines that they need.
For this to work, pharmacies and public health programs would need to coordinate distribution and record keeping. Currently, pharmacies in Ontario can only administer COVID-19 and flu shot vaccines in partnership with public health programs that do not require patients to pay out of pocket. CBC has reached out to the province to ask if they're considering extending public health vaccination programs to vaccines, but we have not heard back. Saskatchewan remains the focus of pandemic concern in Canada. New daily cases have declined in recent days, but modeling released this week suggested a bad situation could still get far worse, and many are urging the provincial government there to impose a new set of restrictions. The CBC's Sam Sampson reports.
More than 800 white flags flap in the wind at the base of Saskatchewan's legislative building, each one representing someone who died from COVID-19. Matthew Cardinal was almost one of them.
It didn't have to get this bad.
Cardinal was hospitalized with the virus earlier this year. He's upset the provincial government didn't keep up public health orders over the summer.
Behind these very doors, they made the decisions, they underestimated the virus, and look where we are today.
At least 8 patients have been transferred to Ontario ICUs so far. Up to 9 more are expected in the coming days. To help, 6 critical care nurses from the Canadian Armed Forces are stepping in soon. Some medical experts say it's a welcome break, but it's just a Band-Aid solution.
That's really enough to staff 2 beds over 2 days, so it's certainly not going to solve the problem.
COVID hospitalizations have been surging since the summer. Saskatchewan began canceling surgeries weeks ago, but so far there have been few changes in public health rules and no new restrictions on gatherings.
The government can redeem itself in the next few days, weeks, if it does the right thing. But if it chooses to take ego and politics ahead of the citizens, ahead of the lives and the health of people in Saskatchewan, then there will be a very tragic price, and they will certainly be responsible for it.
When you're hearing from your ICU physicians that they're starting to use laundry rooms as spaces to care for patients, I think it's quite fair to say that you have a crisis on your hands.
Overall case counts in Saskatchewan are decreasing, but that could change. Modeling last week from the province suggested ICU COVID admissions could double by the new year without new restrictions. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Halloween haunt and corn maze in Pickering is giving some big scares while also giving back. And you got to be pretty brave. There's a slaughterhouse, a zombie diner, and graveyard. Organizers say proceeds from the event will go to Sick Kids' Brain and Mental Health Department. Take a look.
We are here for the most amazing Halloween haunt and corn maze that I have ever done. This is the Robinson Charity Halloween Haunt and Corn Maze, and the proceeds of this charity are going to Sick Kids for the Brain and Mental Health Hub.
Just remember to stay 6 feet apart.
I've been doing this for about 11 years. It normally is one night. It's a lot to set up for one night. So this year I thought, you know what, no matter what, rain or shine, I'm going to do it for 9 nights, including Halloween night, every day from 6:30 to 9:30. Every year I try to make it a little bit different, but since I'm basically sitting on a double lot, the front of the lot is where I do the cornstalk maze. We come all the way around the back of the house, and that's when I get to set up great scenes like this. What we're doing new this year is that we're going to give 3 prizes away for each night for the 9 nights. Anyone who takes a picture here at the haunt and they post it online with the hashtag Robinson Haunt, they're going to go into a draw, and then once an hour for the next 9 days, we're going to give away a prize. This way.
The
maze is amazing. Everyone should come out and try it. It's awesome and it's for a great cause.
And it's so much fun for the kids and all the neighbors and all the residents of Pickering.
This is my mom's maze, and it's really good because it goes to a good cause and it has the kids and everybody else have fun.
I picked sick kids this year because of what we've been going through with COVID and the children not being able to get out, enjoy time with their friends or anything else, and especially since Halloween was canceled last year. I thought this would be the perfect time to get Halloween up and going again. A lot of people are suffering from mental health, and especially the children. You know, the families have been going through a lot.
Robinson's Charity Halloween Haunt and Corn Maze will run every night between 6:30 and 9:30 until the 31st. And there was some fierce competition in Thornhill today as hundreds of furry four-legged friends put on their Halloween best for a spooky puppy parade. There were prizes for the best dressed pet, a trick-or-treat station, and goodie bags for all. The event was hosted by Thornhill Woods Haunted House. Over the last 16 years, the event has raised $135,000 for sick kids. The goal is to raise another $10,000 this year. I just realized I have costumes for the two kids, but none for the dogs. Got to do that.
Got to get on that. Okay, I got one for you, Shannon, okay? See if I can remember this. What is the only animal that dresses up and howls? Are you ready for this?
Uh-huh.
A werewolf. Oh, the cheesy lines. Come on, I called for it. We all need a little bit of a pick-me-up after I'm about to deliver you a soggy and windy forecast over the next couple days. First Colorado low of the season has set its sights on us. The rainfall warnings, the special weather statements, they are all out. Up to 60 millimeters of rain if you are in the green shaded area. Everybody else is looking at that 30 to 50 millimeters of rainfall. Statements called, as I mentioned earlier, for the flooding in low-lying areas, the heavy downpour. This is Gulf moisture. Watch what happens as this Colorado low gets sandwiched by high pressure out in the Atlantic and really takes its time lingering around us, and which is why we will see that really slow, steady rainfall really lingering until Tuesday, even Tuesday evening in the form of showers. The heavy rain is overnight tonight and really for much of the first half of the day tomorrow. We'll get a little bit of a break, and then the rest of this all comes between late day Monday and Tuesday evening. That's a ton of rainfall, even around the Hamilton area. Anywhere kind of hugging the shorelines, you're seeing that upwards of 40, 50, even 60 millimeters of rain. Again, this comes with the really cool Arctic air, which is why we are in the blue troughing pattern. You will have gusts up to 60 kilometers an hour, but wait, there is light at the end of the tunnel. By Wednesday into Thursday, we will actually be into this big ridge, so we'll have a little bit of a warm-up. We might even see a tiny bit of sunshine, which will be nice. It's a pretty bleak fall week. That rhymes. A little bit of breaks of sun midweek, and then another Colorado low, folks, as you head into the weekend. These are the days when a lot of kids want to dress up and be in their costumes for outdoor Halloween activities. It'll be cold, wet, and windy.
Yeah, so you need umbrellas and raincoats with the costumes. Thanks so
under
much.
and over.
Yes, that's our show for tonight. We'll leave you now with a few more pictures from those adorable dogs at the puppy parade. Have a great night.